Hi guys, David Healey here. I want to introduce you to a sampler which I've been working with for quite a while now called HISE. This is a project I've been working on it. It's a flute library. Hopefully this will be released soon and you'll be able to have a play with it. But this is HISE and it's got quite a few things that are different to Contact, and I'll cover those in another video. But in this video I just want to show you how you can set it up and get the latest version running on your system. So if you go to the HISE website, just hise.audio, and go to the download page, there's also a forum which I'm quite active on, worth checking out as well if you want more information. But go to the download page and you'll see that the latest build was the 25th of December, and this project's getting updated every couple of days. Sometimes it gets updated several times a day, so this build here is pretty much out of date. So the reason for that is Christoph, the guy who's developing this, is only pushing the updates to the GitHub repository, and then every so often he'll do a build once enough changes warrant a build, and then he'll put it up on the site. But if you want to be at the cutting edge and have all the latest features, and there's tons of stuff that's been added since this build, what you need to do is go to the GitHub repository, and you're going to have to set up a compiler on your system and compile the project and build it, and that sounds way more complicated than it is. So I'm just going to show you step by step how to do that. So if you're on Windows, the first thing you need to do is get hold of Visual Studio 2015. So just go to Google, type in Visual Studio, and it'll usually be the top link. I'm just going to click Downloads there. And the one you want, if you go to Visual Studio down here, is this top one. It's free. And I recommend you download the ISO, but you can do it through the web installer as well. And unfortunately it takes ages to install, but you download it and you just want to install it. You only need to install the C++ language package if you choose the manual install and get to pick things, or you can just install the whole thing, whichever you prefer. But yeah, so download that, install that. Then we go back to the HISE GitHub repository, and then you want to go up here where it says clone or download, and you just download the zip file to your desktop. And that will give you everything that's in the HISE package and all the latest updates. And then there's loads of information here. There's actually instructions, which is basically what I'm going to tell you now, on how to compile it. Now, Visual Studio is what you need if you're on Windows. If you're on OS X, you need Xcode, and if you're on Linux, you can just use the make file and basically follow these instructions. And I'm guessing if you're on Linux, this stuff makes sense to you. I have compiled it on Linux and it worked straight away, so that should be pretty easy to follow. Okay, so we've got Visual Studio installed, so now you need to come here and click this link to get the ASIO SDK and download that. This one to get the BST SDK from Steinberg, download that. And then if you're planning on using the convolution reverb in HISE, you can download the Intel performance primitives. And it'll take you to this website, and click this link here where it says click here to register and download. Then you have to give them an email address, they'll send you an email, and then you can download it. It's a bit of a pain, but you can download and install that. I haven't bothered doing that because I'm not using the convolution reverb at the moment, but I'll probably do it at some point. You can use the convolution reverb without it. This just increases just improves the CPU performance. So once you've installed Visual Studio and the Intel performance primitives, if you're going to do that, you should end up with these three zip files that you've downloaded. So this is the HISE master. This is the one we downloaded from the GitHub repository. So I'm just going to extract that to the desktop. Just give that a moment. And then once that's extracted, we can get rid of the zip. So we're left with this folder, HISE master. And in here you want to go to Tools, SDK, and you're going to extract these two zip files. This is the ASIO SDK and the BST SDK. So you're just going to extract both of these into this folder here. Okay, and once those are finally extracted, the BST one takes a while, we can come out of this folder and go back to the root directory of this HISE master folder that we extracted originally. Okay, so HISE is built using a framework called Juice, and that's just what's going on behind the scenes. It's how all the code's put together and how all the cross-platform stuff is done. And it's a framework that's designed for building audio applications and plugins. So this juice folder is where all the juice modules are contained, and how we access that is through a tool called the producer. And if we go into tools, here we go, producer, and just double click producer.exe, and then what you need to do, I've already opened just get rid of that. I've already opened the project before, so it's opened it, but what you do is go open, and then if we go to the desktop, open that HISE master folder, go to projects, and then HISE comes as both a VST or AU plugin and a standalone. So we're going to compile the standalone. So you go into the standalone folder and click standalone, press open, and it opens it up in Juice. Now, if you're not using the Intel primitives, as I'm not, you need to go into High Core and go down to where it's got IPP and just change that to disabled. If you are using them, you can leave that where it is. And then, depending on which environment you work in, so if you're on a Mac, you'll be using Xcode. If you're on Windows, you'll be using Visual Studio. And if you're on Linux, you'll be using the Makefile. Just go to Save Project and open in IDE, click Visual Studio 2015, or if you're doing the Xcode one, you'll click Xcode, and just wait for it to open up. It'll take a minute, you'll see it loading in files down here. Okay, and we're ready. Now we don't need to worry about any C++ coding or anything like that. It's going to be really easy. So just change this to Win64 if you're on Windows 64, or Win32 if you're on 32-bit. It does run a bit better on a 64-bit operating system. It is optimized for that. Make sure this menu says Release, and then go to Build, and then click Build HISE Standalone. And you're going to see a load of stuff come up in here as it starts building it, and any warnings and errors. Now, it may fail if there's an error, but it'll tell you what the error is, and usually it's just you forgot to turn off the IPP flag, or there's a path that needs changing, but it does its best to help you. But if you followed what I've said in this video, it should be quite straightforward, and you've just got to give it a minute to get through this compilation process, and you'll get the standalone file output. Okay, and once that's done, it'll say down here, build 1 succeeded, or it'll say failed if something's gone wrong, and then you can search for an error. So that one succeeded, so we're going to close this. I've still got the producer open here, we can close that now. And if we go back into our HISE master folder, we'll go to Projects, Standalone, Builds, Visual Studio 2015, x64, Release, and then finally we have the exe there. Just put that on the desktop. So if we double click that, it should open HISE, and we can go to Help and About, and we can check the build date, so you can see it's the latest build. And that's pretty much it for building HISE and running it. Now for the VST version, if you want to run it as a plugin, which no doubt you will for testing at some point, we do pretty much the same thing. Go to Tools, Producer, Open Producer, but this time I'm going to change the project to the plugin version, and just click that. And again, we just need to check those things. We'll go to High Core and make sure the IPP is disabled, and Visual Studio 2015 is selected. Check there's nothing strange in there. Save project and open in IDE. So again, exactly the same process as for the standalone. We'll just give that a moment to open. Okay, so we're ready to go with the plugin, and again it's the same setup. Choose Win32 or x64. We're going to have the release 64-bit, and we're going to go build HISE. And it's just going to go through the exact same process again and give you warnings if it doesn't work, or tell you it's been successful. Ah look, we've got a failure there. It says here, fatal error, cannot open the file, see program files, VST plugins, HISE, x64.lib. I have no idea why it's trying to open that. Oh yes, I do. Okay, so if we come into here somewhere, release 64, there we go. So it's trying to put the binary location. This is the place it's going to spit out the the VST to when it compiles it, basically. So I'm just going to change that to the desktop. Okay, so we're going to get it spit out to the desktop, so it should work this time. So I'll just save and open in the IDE. So you can see Visual Studio, and I imagine Xcode is the same, that it's very helpful in helping you solve errors. Those messages it will give you when there is something wrong tend to be quite clear. Okay, so we'll start building again. Okay, so this time it succeeded, and here is the there's the DLL, that's the plugin. We can actually delete these two files that it's created, we don't need them. So I'll close that. So let's see it in action. So we'll put this in my VST plugins folder. So we'll replace that one. Okay, and let's have a look at the plugin version. Looks exactly the same, but just for completeness we'll check it out. Okay, so there it is running in Reaper. Okay, so I hope you found that useful. If you are going on to this site, onto the GitHub repository, and you want to know what's been updated, you can see here it gives you the most recent update, so change Visual Studio version, and that was 3 hours ago. But if you want to see a whole list of all the changes that have been made, if you click here where it says commits, and you can see all the updates that have happened, so you can see how often it's been updated. So we've got 26th of February, that's today, 3 days ago, 3 days before that, 1 day before that, and you can see how often it's been updated. And this is all by one guy. This is just Christoph working on it, and I think it's an amazing effort he's putting in. But yeah, so this is open source. If you want to grab the source code and edit it and add your own commits to it, you can do. So thanks for watching. I hope you found this useful. If you've got any questions, please let me know, and I'll see you next time.